down into the Chautauqua County. We're considered rural by the VA standards, but on the credit of the Department of Veterans Affairs, they have put a lot of resources right here into Chautauqua County.
Okay, well, the veterans' health care, hospitals particularly. Now, it used to be any veteran who served got hospital care through the VA. I understand now that it's just veterans who have a disability or have been injured somehow. Is that correct? They changed that.
That's partly correct. Any veteran, obviously, that has a service-connected disability will receive VA health care. All of our veterans that we have now currently from Vietnam, if they've served in Vietnam, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan, Iraq, they're entitled to VA health care. What you're referring to is in 2003, Congress went to a means test. And if a veteran has no service-connected disability and is above a certain threshold in income, then they will not qualify for VA health care, even with their service.
Okay, but if they do have a service-connected disability, they still would qualify.
They will still qualify.
The interesting thing about that is if you, well, a friend of mine applied for a service-connected disability, and it was for a hearing loss. He'd been near some large guns, and he'd lost a percentage of his hearing. I said, why do you do that? He said, now I get benefits. Mm-hmm. He had an income, which isn't that great, which cut him off from his benefits.
Sure.
Just serving wasn't good enough. He's got to serve and be poor. That's a great scenario. They have been cutting back on veterans' rights, and I'm very concerned about it, and I think at this point America is a little concerned about it too. When we're finding our kids getting blown apart and we're losing our kids, it's just a terrible thing. And Afghanistan, you know, here's an interesting figure. I read in the New York Times that 69% of America thinks that Afghanistan is a stupid thing and we should never have gotten in and we should get out as fast as possible. One of the pundits suggested we went in there theoretically to go after the terrorists and bin Laden particularly. Well, we got him, so let's declare the war over. What are you going to do? We spent trillions of dollars over there, and we're still losing our boys and girls. I say boys. We forget there are women who are fighting. How many women fight compared to the men? You know?
I don't specifically have the numbers, but it's increasingly getting larger and larger every year.
Uh-huh.
You know, even though the United States bars women from serving in direct combat roles, our women are into what we call combat support roles, and then you have.
What's the difference?
Well, there's a difference. Your combat arms would be your artillery, your infantry, your tanks. They cannot serve in that capacity. However,
they can fly planes.
They can fly attack helicopters, the Apaches. They can, but somehow they consider that to be a combat support role. Not sure why. They drive the fuel tankers right up to the Bradley fighting vehicles or the M1 Abrams tanks that are actually right on the front lines. So the women are going right up on the front lines. You have women MPs that are military police officers that are right up on the front lines. Again, there are a large percentage of women. We're seeing a lot of female veterans that are coming into our office here in Jamestown, Chautauqua County, that are using the VA clinic. Women have always served in a very, a very direct role in combat or in the military. So it's not just the guys doing it. It is definitely the women doing it also.
They're not just nurses either.
No,
they're actually in support roles, but I have a feeling some of them are right on the line one way or another, as you said.
They are on the line. Yes, they are.
And, John, I got a call. I can see the light flashing. Oh, that's why I'm not hearing it. Hold on a minute. I gotta hook up one more thing here. I got all these things I have to hook up, And there we go. Now we're copacetic and ready to roll. And let me get this in the hole.
Got a phone call.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have a call. I just didn't have my speaker on. Okay, good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Why, thank you for putting the show on. It's nice to realize that people still recognize those who put in this time for the service, put their lives on the line.
Yeah.
But my question relates to the medical care provided to veterans. I had one occasion only to use a VA clinic and was appalled at the charges that they submitted to me, which I had to pay, of course. Why suddenly, to think of the guys who really served in, active duty, were injured, and fortunately I didn't serve in I didn't serve overseas. I had minor injuries during training. But the care, you go to the VA now, I don't know what the heck they charge, $25 or $30 for a visit?
What is that, Troy?
Well, for people, if you have a service-connected disability, you were injured, even if it was a training exercise, it was going through basic training, whatever it may be, anything that was aggravated by or a direct injury while you were in the military service, there will be no copay. Copays for, basically for a non-service connected disability right now are $9 for a 30-day supply of prescription drugs. Or every time that you see the doctor, I believe the copay is $15 for a regular visit to the doctor. Or even if you have to see a surgeon, they refer you up to our specialty doctor up at the Buffalo VA or the Erie VA. I believe there's only like a $25 copay. Basically, there is copay for, as I said, non-service connected disabilities, but it's not really that much.
Well, again, my experience was it cost me at least as much as it would have cost me to go to a regular physician. I went to the VA anticipating I'd get special care. Not that I'm a special person or had any special injuries, any service-connected injuries, and I didn't serve overseas. But still, I realized that the guys who did, those men who really had their lives on the line, got no better care than I did, and I'm sorry, but I went to the VA once, and then I went back to a regular doctor.
Well, is this means tested too, the clinic?
I beg your pardon?
Yes, the clinic is means tested because that is part of the veteran, Department of Veterans Affairs. But then again, every circumstance is different. The fact is that I personally do not believe in the means test. I don't like the idea. I'm 100% for what we're saying here. If you served in the military, the Department of Veterans Affairs should be applying free medical care. But unfortunately, since I don't work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, I work for Chautauqua County and advocate on behalf of veterans. We have to still work within that that guideline. But the one thing I will say is there has been a tremendous improvement, I believe, in what VA care used to be to what it is today. And I don't base this off of my own observations. I base this off the fact of what veterans from Vietnam, from Korea that are coming in and that are utilizing the VA today versus when they first came into the VA when they got out of Vietnam. I credit a lot of the improvements in the VA healthcare system to the Vietnam veterans who stood up and said, enough is enough. We're not going to tolerate this type of stuff. We're going to make sure that our veterans are treated better than this. And the only thing that I can say is when we identify something that isn't going or it doesn't work the way we want it to, it takes a bunch of us to get together to support the veterans organization so that they can be one voice in Washington that can make sure that we're telling our elected officials that we're not happy with what we're getting because they're the only ones who can change it. The people who work in our VA clinics, the people who work in our veterans hospitals are top notch. They take care, I'm a consumer of it. I utilize the Erie VA my own self, and I'm very, very happy with the care that I receive down there.
Yeah, well, I can't criticize the quality of care. I've been in the clinic once.
Well, thank you, caller.
I beg your pardon?
I said thank you for the call.
Well, thank you for putting on the program.
Okay.
I think it's important that people know that the guys who serve, guys and gals, I should say, although there were no women when I went in, they do a tremendous amount for our country. They give up a lot. And my love goes to them, and I wish more people were aware of how dedicated our military is,
Well, I
and how much
appreciate that.
gratitude we really owe to them.
We appreciate that, and especially on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and the 4th of July. We got plenty of times. Thanks again, caller, and send me a stamped envelope. I'll send you $5 off over at that little restaurant at the foot of the hill in Mayville, the Lakeview, which is fantastic.
I agree. I've been there. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that brings to light the fact that our hospitals, veterans hospitals, were for a long time in real trouble. I remember we collected soap on Long Island. Soap! And towels for the veterans hospital to use. I remember I was on the ambulance many years back, going from Westfield with a veteran who was headed for the hospital there, and we call in and tell them they're coming, and they said, believe this or not, they said, we don't have any room. Send them somewhere else. I hope that's changed anyway. In the meantime, the paperwork. Now you must be dealing with this paperwork nightmare. I read in the papers all the time that even today they are years behind in the paperwork. Some of them, I heard some people complaining that they haven't had their paperwork for their care and for their pensions and for these various things for 2 years, and it's going on and on. How's that coming along? You must be dealt in. How do you deal with a situation when you haven't got the paperwork?
Patience. And you're absolutely right about that. If a brand new veteran walks into our office and they're interested in getting into VA healthcare system, usually, if the veteran is qualified for VA healthcare, and when you sit down with myself or my other 2 service officers, we're going to let you know if you qualify or not. We can get you enrolled into the VA healthcare system usually within anywhere from 7 to 10 business days. That's not so bad. What you're talking about is our service-connected disability claims. And yes, Department of Veterans Affairs has been inundated with claims. They are to my credit, the backlog is still, it's there. Everybody knows it's there. But the problem is that it's kind of the funnel effect. We have a lot of people throughout our country, a lot of veterans that are submitting claims, and they're only going into specific regional offices where they get decided. We've had problems in the past with the regional offices, but the person who's running the Department of Veterans Affairs right now is a retired 4-star general from the United States Army. He is also a Vietnam vet.
What's his name?
His name is Eric Shinseki, and he is a brilliant man. And he, in the last 3 years, has done wonders with the Department of Veterans Affairs to try to make sure that the logjam has been busted and things are flowing better. It is taking right now, if a person walks in with a service-connected disability claim, 9 to 12 months is going to be the average time between it gets done.
Okay, we got a phone call. You want to take it?
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning, Troy. Good morning, Reed. This is Linda Spalding.
Well, good morning, Linda. I hope you're enjoying our program.
Morning, Linda.
I am enjoying it very much, and I want to say thank you to all the veterans and all the servicemen for all they have done for us and defending us. It's a great privilege to have them, and I'm so glad that we're able to recognize them.
Well, that's wonderful. This is Linda Spalding, and so she is married to the dearest old man. He'd get in, he almost gets into Chautauqua free. You get in if you're 90. Yeah, that's a fantastic thing. And he's got a dog he's training to play the piano. And the penny whistle, right?
Yes, and he plays a recorder too, and the piano and the guitar. He's kind of musical.
Well, Linda,
and the harmonica too.
Will he take you fishing? She never catches her muskellunge. She lives right by Chautauqua Lake, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, they're kind of a big creature to pull out of the water.
Well, the curious thing is they have to be 40 inches long before you can take them out. Mm-hmm. And you would think they'd want you to take the males and leave the spawning females, Well,
Yeah.
Here's the laugh of it. The Department of the DEC, who makes these rules, in their wisdom, said, well, you can't take a fish under 40 inches. Well, the male fish only grows to about 25 inches. It's only females you're going to take.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
Isn't that funny? But whatever.
Well, I just wanted to announce the services with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging.
Okay.
And